Okay. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Java. Hope all of you are doing good and staying safe at home. The COVID-19 pandemic has brought focus on a new health issues like mucormycosis. Mucormycosis is associated with high morbidity and mortality. A change in the epidemiology of mucormycosis has been observed in recent years with the rise in incidence, new causative agents, and susceptible population. The rise has been perceived globally, but it is very high in the Asian continent. After the inclusion of Indian data, the estimate of mucormycosis rose to 9,10,000 cases globally. Today, we got Dr. Prashanta Reddy with us. So far, he has done 19 mucormycosis surgeries. Before asking question, let me introduce our chief consultant, Dr. Prashanta Reddy, ENT endoscopic sinus and skull base surgeon.
Thank you, Java.
Dr. Prashant has done his MBBS and MS from Bangalore Medical College and Research Institute. And also he has done his MBA from Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore. This something is very interesting, being a surgeon. Yeah. Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon, Java.
There are quite a few of questions which is all around us now and also into the social media and WhatsApp group because this is something new. We haven't heard this mucormycosis before, and we thought that it's always better that we hear it from the horse's mouth rather than thinking that what is good, what is not good, which is right, which is not right. So I have picked up a couple of questions which is all of us might be thinking of. How do we diagnose mucormycosis or black fungus?
Well, so the first symptom or first thing which anyone would notice for any kind of fungal infection or mucormycosis is pain. They can present with headache or eye pain, cheek pain or tooth pain.
Either of these or all together?
Either one of them.
Okay.
So the moment they have the initial symptom of having any kind of pain, they need to assess, come and see a doctor, especially an ENT surgeon. So what happens with that, we'll do an endoscopy where we pass a scope through the nose and then we'll see it on the monitor and we'll also show it to the patient how or what is happening inside the nose. So the reason why it is called the black fungus, which is actually a misnomer for mucormycosis, is because of the blackish eschar which are seen inside the nasal cavity. So the blackish eschar is formed because of the dead tissue over which the fungus is growing. So mucormycosis or any kind of fungal sinusitis which is occurring right now in COVID is secondary to the acute necrosis of the sinuses, the mucosa, over which the dead tissue, we are seeing a lot of patients developing this kind of mixed fungal infection. So it's ideal that we say that it's more of a misnomer saying that mucormycosis is a black fungus. Instead, we can say COVID is giving rise to significant amount of necrotic tissue inside the bone, a dead tissue inside the bone, inside the nose, which is secondarily getting infected by any kind of fungi. So if you see in your house any kind of a stale food, you get fungus. That is exactly what's happening inside the nose. The fungus is basically growing on the dead tissue. So that's how we need to do an endoscopy check. After that, we need to get a CT scan and an MRI scan to assess what and all sinuses are involved, following which we can diagnose on histopathology. So the diagnosis of mucormycosis or any kind of fungus, black fungus, white fungus or yellow fungus, is based on histopathology. It's not by color, not by operative findings, not by just visualizing on macroscopically, but on microscopic picture is what we need to assess.
So when you said that if the patient is experience pain in either a headache or eyes or cheek pain, can this headache be misunderstood as the normal migraine pain or something like that?
Yes, definitely it can be a possibility, but migraine personally per se as such, the presentation a patient who is having migraine will know what's a migraine, what kind of a headache it is.
It's a different type
It's
of
definitely different type
It's
of
a
headache.
shooting pain or something like that.
It is associated with nausea, vomiting, other
Okay.
symptoms, which
Okay.
can also be present in mucormycosis if at all it has gone into the brain.
Okay.
So we can't really say how many are actually having mucormycosis or migraine. So
Okay.
it's only based on endoscopy and on CT scan and on physical examination we'll get to know.
Shall we take the question? We have got two questions.
Sure.
Can fungal mycosis can happen without having COVID? And the second question is, what is new now? Dead tissue is not new. Why is it now becoming an issue?
Okay. So mucormycosis can occur definitely with patients who have low immunity or they have high glycemic index or high diabetes. So it was previously seen as a rare infection in such kind of patients where the immunity is extremely low or when they have got chemotherapy for blood cancer or leukemia, or they have got or if they have got high sugar levels secondary to uncontrolled diabetes.
Okay.
And the second question which they have asked is, dead tissue is definitely new because inside the nose, if the blood supply is not there, that is causing the necrosis. So COVID itself per se is causing microthrombotic effects. So what is microthrombus? It's a small blood clots which go and get stuck in the end arteries or in the end of the arteries where the blood supply will get cut off.
Okay.
So because of the blood supply getting cut off, it gets into necrosis or dead tissue.
Okay.
So over that, the fungus, any kind of fungus will grow.
Okay.
Not necessarily it's just mucor.
So is this fungal infection related to COVID only?
Yes. Right now in this pandemic, most of the cases, whatever we have checked, is because of one, post-COVID, or still when they are still having acute COVID status, or within 9 days I have seen one patient who has got mucormycosis. Second is patients who have, all the patients what I have seen have very high sugar levels.
Okay. Okay.
So that is very essential. We need to understand that people who are in the first wave, it was not very evident, but in second wave it's more prolonged and more evident because in the first wave, because of the lockdown which is there from last
Day one,
year,
yeah.
so the start of the pandemic, people are not going outdoor,
Sure.
because of which their normal activity what they will do
restricted
that is
to-
restricted. Secondly to which they are sitting in a more sedentary lifestyle, that is becoming more, pushing them towards more amount of diabetes, undiagnosed diabetics. Secondly to which this is occurring. So it's a culmination of multiple factors which is causing this mucormycosis. One is sedentary lifestyle, second is COVID, third is the treatment per se of COVID, because people are abusing on over-the-counter medications like multivitamins, zinc, and other things.
Yes. So
That-
these all are also responsible
Yes, these are all responsible for changing the microenvironment of the
Okay.
nasal cavity.
for? Okay.
Because of abusing excessive medications without without getting it verified by any doctor, people just take zinc, vitamin C, others. That is also acting to that, not just steroids. Because we have had many doctors who are treating multiple ailments like rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune disorders, and also leukemias. They are giving such high dose, much more higher than what was given for treatment of COVID, and also for a pretty prolonged period. None of them had mucormycosis till date.
But then, Dr. Vitamin C normally anybody takes for in abundance. So is how can that be a cause of mucormycosis?
For specifically for mucormycosis, what is happening is mucor thrives on, one is sugar, another one is iron. The blackish color, whatever is occurring, is because of the iron getting absorbed from the blood. So vitamin C aids as a chelating agent.
Okay.
So it chelates more amount of iron into the blood. So that causes added activity for the mucor to grow excessively.
Okay.
So instead of taking one tablet, people are taking 8-10 tablets per day. I personally have heard of people taking that. So that's one of the reasons. So it's multifactorial. I can't pinpoint and say that this is the only reason why it is. It is definitely multifactorial. Still, it has to be thoroughly investigated. We need to do a lot of research on it. It's because we are in thick of an epidemic of MUCOR. We don't have time to go into the details of doing research right now. Once we save the life, then we can have time to do more research and understand what is happening.
Very true. Doctor, what is white fungus?
So white fungus it can be two types. One is candidiasis, that's the oral thrush and other infection, that's a yeast infection. Other one is aspergillosis. Aspergillosis is another type of fungus. So these two can be called white fungus.
Okay.
So it totally depends on what is seen on the culture media. So based on the color, we just are giving multiple colors. So going forward, we can also get orange fungus, red fungus, pink fungus.
Yeah, because in some part of India, it is also that yellow fungus we could see.
Exactly.
So it's also the same.
So it's not the same. It's just a different type of species of fungus is growing on a dead tissue. So it totally depends on what kind of fungus is seen on microscopy. Based on that only we can diagnose. We can't diagnose based on gross appearance, just based on the color. We can't diagnose it.
Is this white and yellow fungus is more deadly than black fungus?
So yellow fungus apparently is more deadlier, but white fungus, the aspergillosis, has easier treatment and it's less deadlier than mucormycosis. Mucormycosis is more deadlier because it invades via the blood vessels. So if at all there is any, it invades the blood vessels and it goes directly into the brain. Unlike aspergillosis, which doesn't invade the vascular channels. So that's why the mucormycosis is more deadlier and the mortality rate is very, very high. If we can take one of the Bibles of ENT, that is Cummings. So in that they mention that even in spite of thorough debridement and thorough giving antifungals, the patient's mortality rate is 40%. But luckily, of the 19 surgeries I have operated, I just had one mortality. That too, it was because in the early stages when I didn't have amphotericin. The lack of antifungal medication was the root cause for the death of the patient, and also the patient had extensively gone into the brain. So the patient, we could not save much.
What all areas of the body can mucormycosis or this fungus can affect?
So the most common thing is the nose. It's called rhino-orbital cerebral infection or mucormycosis. So it affects the nose, it affects the eye, it affects the brain. That's the most common thing. So the first common cause is the nose. Second is the eye. Third will be the lungs. Fourth will be the abdomen or the GI tract. It can also occur we recently had one case of skin behind the ear getting infected. So one of my friends had operated a case of cutaneous mucormycosis or a skin mucormycosis recently.
So are people with comorbidities likely to catch, or anyone can be affected?
So it is definitely more for, as I mentioned, that for people who have got diabetes. But unfortunately now what is happening is people are not realizing that they have diabetes because of COVID. They don't realize that they have diabetes. So they assume that they don't have a diabetes because they wouldn't have tested themselves. And also because of COVID, the sugar levels are shooting up. After COVID, during the recovery phase, the sugar levels are shooting up. So that is the actual reason why mucormycosis or any fungal infection is occurring. So sugar levels or comorbidities of diabetes is definitely a major
one of the reason.
Yes.
So otherwise also can anybody get affected?
During this pandemic, almost 99% of them are either due to COVID or recovering from COVID. But as I mentioned previously, mucormycosis was there before COVID. It will stay even after COVID. During the COVID, it will become an epidemic.
So you have already answered that, but then still I would like to know a little bit more about that. Why this fungus is more in second wave than the first wave. In the first wave, we haven't heard of this at all. So
So in the first wave, the number of COVID infections were pretty low compared to the second wave. Second wave, it just shot up exponentially. No one in the world thought India would have such a bad state of second wave. So the sheer numbers and also the undiagnosed diabetes. That is what is the crucial factor why we are seeing so many more mucormycosis than compared to the first wave. That's why in the first wave it was very, very sporadic numbers, but now we are seeing more than 10,000 patients getting diagnosed just in South India. I don't know what are the numbers in North India, but at least just in the South India, 4 states of South India, we have more than 10,000 plus cases which are being reported. So India becoming the second position for the number of diabetes. COVID would have pushed it to number 1 unofficially again. So that's why we are seeing so many more mucormycosis cases now than the first wave.
So we have another question that doctor, is mucormycosis observed in post-COVID patient? I think
Yes.
she meant. If so, what is the reason behind this? Is that due to steroidal dosage during COVID treatment? Kindly help with your assistance.
So as Faraz asked me that, so as I mentioned previously that steroid is definitely one of the causes which can be the mucormycosis. I can't say that is the only sole cause of for mucormycosis, because previously also, as I mentioned, that we for autoimmune diseases, for rheumatological diseases, for kids who are having leukemias, we give very high dose of these steroids, and even for status asthmaticus we have to give high dose of steroid, but none of them developed mucormycosis, even though their sugar levels were extremely high. So it is the per se of all the factors together, the COVID causing microthrombotic effects, the high sugar levels, the steroid, and also the abuse of over-the-counter medications. All these factors put together is leading to this, which needs further investigation to understand why it is occurring. So once we understand why it is occurring, maybe we'll have a definitive answer, but now it's just a predictive or a provisional answer.
Can this fungal infection be treated with medicine at the beginning, or does it grow very fast which may lead to a surgery? That I think is a very good question.
Yes, so that's a very good question. So first thing is debride. Take out the dead tissue. If you for the antifungals to act, the tissue needs blood supply. If there's no blood supply, how will the antifungal reach that area? So only until you remove the dead tissue, it will restore the blood supply, and that's when the antifungals can act. So first it's surgery, then it's medicine.
Oh, okay. It's the other way around.
It's the other way around.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, there's mass hysteria going around that, only if we have antifungals we get admitted, otherwise we are not going to get admitted. No, that's absolutely wrong. You need to first remove the fungus, remove the dead tissue, ensure that there is proper supply of the antifungals that can go and reach the targeted area. Otherwise, you are just going to give antifungals, it's just going to kill your kidney. Amphotericin, that way is, so there's a saying which goes, if mucor doesn't kill you, amphotericin does kill you. So the conventional regular amphotericin is highly nephrotoxic, but there are other alternative drugs nowadays. So that is kind of helping with controlling the mucormycosis. But that's the saying which goes: if mucor doesn't kill you, amphotericin will kill you.
And can this infection transmit it to others?
No. So mucor or any fungal spores are opportunistic infections. They are present in as normal commensals or the normal flora inside the nose, inside the gut, and on the skin. So only if you give a chance by increasing your sugar levels or having these kind of dead tissue inside your nose, that's when it will lead to an opportunistic infection and spreads extremely fast because it has very good growth medium to grow fast. So it is not infectious.
Okay. So, what is the fatality rate among mucormycosis patients?
So, if people don't come early, so most of my cases, of the 19, at least 15 patients were absolutely at early stage. We operated
and
them.
All the patient has undergone a surgery?
Yes. That's how I could save them. If I would have left them, So one patient, which I have not included in the 19, one patient had an infection which has gone into the brain, which was in Sagar Hospital, and I didn't operate that patient because he was a walking dead man. He was unfortunately a 29-year-old. I refused the surgery because even if I operate on him, the chances of him surviving for 24 hours
Oh my God.
was not feasible. So unnecessarily, I would have had him to take financial burdens just for 24 hours. And he was not from a well-to-do family. He was a Swiggy delivery person.
Oh my God.
So I unfortunately had to tell him, see, even if I operate you, you are literally a walking dead man. Instead, save up this and don't unnecessarily burden your kids' future for your treatment, because unfortunately you're not going to survive. That's the most, I still can't get my sleep normally because of that. Because I had to tell him that no, I'm not able to operate you because you're already a walking dead man.
My God. What is the general process? As Dr. S once walk into the emergency, with a shooting pain or, some symptom, what happened after that? What is the general process?
So first they give us a call. So if at all they have any kind of swelling, any kind of swelling of the eye, redness of the eye, kind of blindness. So one of the major factors which people can present is blindness any time of the any part of the whole process of mild, severe, or mild, moderate to severe. So the moment they are present here, we ideally get a CT scan and an MRI scan done. So the MRI, we do it with the contrast to assess how the eye is. If at all the eye muscles are involved, we have to remove the eye, unfortunately. But luckily, touch wood, till now, none of my patients had muscle involvement, but they had only perception of light. So 4 patients of mine were almost equivalent to legally blind. So there they just could see that, okay, there's light on, light off. That's it, they could know. And I operated them and I got back their vision.
It affects on both the eyes or only one eye?
It can affect both the sides. But usually 90% or 95% of the time it's only one unilateral, because first it will be one side, then it will spread to the other side. So the 4 patients who had just the perception of light, I operated, removed the inner wall of the eye. Also the optic nerve canal I opened up, and that kind of decompressed the nerve and the eyeball. So they got back their vision. So that's of the 19-4 were like that. So that's something which I'm kind of proud of to do so.
I will have a different question to you now.
Sure.
Why there are shortage of antifungal medicines?
So I think this question would be best answered by my IMB prof who takes supply chain. But maybe they also can't answer it really, because this whole epidemic of black fungus was never thought of. So before COVID, I have operated only 2 or 3 cases of mucormycosis in my whole career. And now in just past 3 weeks, I have operated 19 cases. So that's equivalent to 6 or 7 cases per week. And few days I have operated 4 cases. So because of sudden rampant increase in the number of COVID cases and mucormycosis cases, let me put it that way, no one predicted that this amount of supply is required. So for creating an antifungal, it takes time. You need to set up that amount of scale for it to ramp up. To set up that scale takes time, and also delivering it to the needy into the hospital also takes time. So that's one of the major reasons why we have this shortage. But now the government has taken its control, and now they're trying to give it at the earlier. So we are much more better off now than 3 weeks back, where the supply is coming. So we are going to get better now.
Right. So one more question, that does this black fungus get infected to the internal organs too?
Yes, it does. So there are few cases of black fungus or the mucormycosis affecting the GI tract, and also we had a case where there was a lung involvement, where there was a big cavity which had mucormycosis. So they also had to operate and take it out.
What are the steps to prevent this?
Simple steps. Don't get COVID.
That is not in our hand or anybody's. Yeah, people don't like to have it.
Yes, people don't like to have it, but once you have COVID, ensure that your sugar levels are controlled. Mucor affects people who have high sugar levels. So control your sugar levels. The chances of you getting mucor is reduced drastically to less than 5%.
I think that's a very good point to take on from doctor. Please control your sugar level. And
Yes.
Those who do not have sugar, can they develop sugar because of COVID?
Yes. So people, almost 8 patients of mine were not diagnosed to have, didn't know that they were diabetics till they got onto my operating table or just before the operating table. So then we realized that the sugar levels were extremely high, 400, 500.
So it just shoot up, is it?
It just shoots up after
Okay.
COVID.
Okay.
So people don't even realize, because COVID, any kind of a stress on the body will increase the number of corticosteroids in the body. That will shoot up the sugar levels. And also COVID per se there is some papers saying that it actually affects the insulin producing cells. So because that is getting affected, people are not able to control their sugar levels. That's why the sugar is shooting up.
Okay. What are the stages of severity?
So, so let me come back to my basic things. So it again starts from head to the jaw. So first is the pain, headache, eye pain, cheek pain, or tooth pain. Then it will become either redness or swelling. So you can either have the upper eyelid having swelling, your eye having redness, swelling of the eye, cheek swelling, cheek pain and cheek redness, and also teeth pain and loosening of teeth, and also the hard palate that can also become reddish. So that
does it happen very fast, one after another?
Yes.
Okay.
It occurs very rampantly, especially for patients who were admitted in the hospital. We have seen some cases progressing. So 24 hours before I have got a CT scan, and when I'm operating the patient, I'm seeing that the sinus, one of the sinus, it was absolutely clear on the CT scan. On the operation table, it was filled with fungus.
God, okay.
So 24 hours. And I had operated one 19-year-old kid last week.
Yeah.
So that kid had come to the OPD, he had full infection. We thought it's just a bacterial infection. We treated him with antibiotics. But within 5 days, he again came back, not even 5 days, 3 days, he came back. Within 3 days, he came back and he had full heavy swelling and everything. So 19-year-old kid, this is the most surprising part. So we had to open up everything. We opened up all the sinuses on the inside, took out everything, and we were still thinking it is bacterial and not fungal. Then for my surprise, when I got the histopathology, that's when I was telling that, we diagnosed it based on histopathology. So on histopathology, we saw all his cuts had the mucormycosis. So that's the surprising part. So it is very, very, very rapid, and if you delay it, if at all it goes into the brain, we can't operate, and the mortality is almost equal to 100%. I can't say 100% because if by God's grace they get amphotericin and we do resect everything, they might survive. But how long they can survive and what kind of a life they will have, we really don't know.
Oh my God. Can mucormycosis take place in children too?
Yes, it can occur. So in Bowring Hospital, where I have my professors doing the surgeries, so they have reported a 9-year-old and a 14-year-old who had intracerebral mucormycosis. So I think 14-year-old kid passed away. I don't know exactly the details, but yeah, so it does affect the kids. So ensuring that the kid doesn't get mucor and doesn't get COVID, and also the kid has to be safe. So the only prevention, as you asked, how to prevent, wear a mask. Wear a clean mask. Wear a mask that says that it covers the nose and the mouth properly, such that you will not get infected with COVID, you will not get mucormycosis secondary to that. Okay. So that is the only thing which I would like to say.
Okay. I think we have shut our time, and thank you so much. Those who are with us, if you want to contact Dr. Prashant, you have to call 080-428888. He is also available for video consultation. You can book your appointment through our website, which is www.sagarhospitals.in. Let me end the session with a positive note. Nothing in life is to be feared. Nothing in life to be feared is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. Thank you so much. Stay safe and healthy.
Thank you all.